All right, I think we're live and it's running. Speaking of running, so is my truck. No, I'm about to head off grid. One video I kind of wanted to shoot because I've gotten a few questions. Long story short, most of this channel is kind of geared much more to a, people that have at least worked some. So you might say old millennials, young Gen Xers like me. I don't have much to say to a lot of the people I work with who are really young, but then I started to think about it. And what I mean by this is there's a little bit of empathy here. Okay, I think I showed this before, but here's my house, okay? What do we got here? We got like 1,800 square feet, nothing fancy. Decent, I don't know, you might say, it's in the burbs. We got a bunch of weird dogs. I'm about to walk around. Anyway, the only reason I'm showing you this is it's pretty much a run-of-the-mill house. All right, get back, dogs. Come on, back. Back. All right. Actually, the dogs are gonna be excited, so quit. So forget that. But you can kind of see your average fence, your a decent-sized backyard. We have the gazebo I recently put up. There we go. That's our pride and joy. Nice and loud. Anyway, my point being is, it's it's a nice house. But I mean, it's built in the 1990. I want to say it's 94. Redid the siding. It's not vinyl siding. It's something a little bit better, but it's not the best. Your generic landscaping. We had to cut a tree down that died. Recently, I did another video on things to do before you even contemplate retiring. This roof was like almost 30 years old. So replaced it with some architectural shingles. Anyway, all this to say, this is a pretty average house, right? I mean, it's not like something you would say, dude, this house has got it going on. But this house in 2012, when we moved back from New York, I'll take a little walk and then we'll be off grid. I think this house was $118,000. And here it is. And they had to pay all the closing costs. I got like a 3% interest, blah, blah, blah. So pretty good. Insurance, mortgage, taxes, the whole thing. It's about $600 a month. It's not bad, right? Now it's went up to closer to $800 because of property tax. You gotta love your taxes. But with that being said, this house in 2012 was $118,000. Okay, today, Northwest Arkansas area, it's, I get offers for $350,000 a lot. And the interest rate, I think it's down to 7%. My gut tells me later on in September, it'll drop to 6.5%. I'm not gonna go into what that means, but that's still high. That's a lot of money. So to the younger people, I guess what I'm saying is this. 118, I understand that's no longer a luxury. Even if the housing market crashes, this is still gonna be it's still gonna cost you a lot more than 118. Like if you're lucky, you might get an average house for $250,000, $250,000. And I'm not sure interest rates will ever get 3% or less. I mean, if you're lucky, maybe they'll get to 4.5%. So I kind of empathize with you there because, again, like I'd said in some other videos, I was in the housing market in 2008 when it crashed. So been there, done that. You're not going to have a lot of sympathy. You will have some empathy, but not sympathy from me. Whoop. Actually, let's turn around. I'm going to make this pretty short and I'm going to go off grid. My point being is this. I don't really have a good answer if you said, hey, I don't make much money, I'm young, like the people you work with who are getting Botox and living in $1,700 a month apartments. That's 100% legit. Video for another time. But what I could tell you, if you're really serious about, look, I don't want to be in the Matrix, is forget that house. Forget any of these houses. Well, what do you mean? Get something super simple. We're barely at the house anyway. Any of us. I don't care who you are. Do a simple house. And I'm going to show you an example off the grid. And I'm going to give you real financial numbers. You could literally, even if you are a Gen Zer, you could be out of the Matrix in 5 years if you're okay not living in total luxury. Not that I'm living in total luxury, but I guess what I mean is if you're okay not having, a 2,000 square foot, and the bad thing is a lot of these Gen Zers that I talk to, they'll look at my house and say, hell no, I need something a ton nicer than that. And I'm like, yeah, but you can't even pay your bills. So my point being is this, if you really are younger, and that's what this specific video is for, you can still get out of the Matrix, and maybe the housing market will totally go way down, like after '08, when we basically ate it. And like I said, again, that's just your average house. Had I known now, then what I knew now, oh my gosh, I would have done everything I could to buy as many houses and property as I could. Because just do the math. I mean, this was $118,000 12 years ago. And it's went down a little bit, but a year ago I could have probably sold it for close to 400. It's insane. There's no way in the world I would pay 400, 350, 300 for this house. But that's the going price. That's the world we live in. I don't think socialism is the answer, but I do think a form of minimalism, libertarianism, agorism could actually help you if you are willing to live a little simpler. And that is where we'll continue this off the grid, so I can get out of this matrix before the nutty neighbors call the police. Joking, they're good neighbors. All right, that's better. I couldn't get my mic to work on my new fancy iPhone 12. Keep in mind they're about to release the iPhone 17, I think. That's okay. Works out better that we're now an hour away from where we were in the middle of the boonies. But what was I saying about Gen Z, right? Okay. Again, it won't be good enough for them. And that's why I think they're turning more toward a socialism type perspective, which again, maybe they're right. Maybe it'll work out for the first time in history. Yeah, I wish I didn't have a master's in history so I can kind of look back at things. Ignorance is bliss. But anyway, okay, here we go. Let's focus on this smaller building. I'm not talking about the small gray one. I'm talking about the tan one, the 2-story one. Okay? Again, heaven forbid Gen Z do without. Again, I kid you not, 25 through roughly 28 or 9, because I don't think any of them have hit 30 yet that I work with. They have $1,700 a month apartments in Northwest Arkansas. We're not talking like when I lived in Manhattan, we had a really nice apartment, and it was, now we did actually opt for the Hoboken area, so it was like $3,000 a month, and they raised it $100 a year, so by the end of it, it was $3,200. Again, things we take for granted. I remember when they said, hey, people were just shocked. They're like, dude, people from New York, you have a washer and dryer in your apartment? And I'm like, yeah, who cares? I realized that was very much an anomaly within the Manhattan, New York City area. Anyway, long story short, Botox. They're doing this as what they said, because I asked them, I said, hey, look, I understand someone like me, kind of older, getting Botox. I don't, but obviously you're like, dude, your Botox isn't working. But someone in their 20s, and they said, well, it's preventative. And I said, isn't it expensive? They said, yeah, really expensive. Okay. So they probably could never, ever, nose in the air, even though they make almost no money, settle for something this simple. But I'm just saying, little 2-story building, that one. Okay, I didn't even know why, but I bought it, I think, right before I moved to New York City, so probably 2009. Okay, let's assume, let's replace these 2 doors. This would be simple, really simple to do, with actual doors, like a glass one and then one that opens, right? Okay. Now mine, let me turn this off.
In a single day, I would say as many as 100 prayers, and almost as many in the night. They used to get up for prayer before day.
There we go. Anyway, let's assume, I should have had this set up, well, actually no, but I used to have this set up because I didn't have the other building. There was a bunk bed here, composting toilet, actually just right outside. There's a shower area, still there now. And I don't know if you can even tell, but again, this entire building was $5,000. Let's assume, I don't know, I don't think it has, but let's assume it's double that, $10,000. Okay, you got a 2-story little building for $10,000. First of all, Gen Z, you guys would look so hip if you took this building, right? And you can see, because it's, if you can tell here, sorry, I've got just all kinds of stuff up. Using this as storage really more than anything. I need to clean it up. There's no insulation. There's no paneling here. If you put insulation here, and then you paneled this, drywalled it, whatever floats your boat, this would look so sharp. And guess what? Let's just say this was your living room area. Let's just say upstairs was your bedroom, and if you could somehow forbid it, maybe make a little, you could easily, like right here under the stairwell, you could easily box this in and have a super small bathroom and shower. It wouldn't cost that much. So just work with me here. Okay, here is the old school air conditioner. Aw. And keep in mind, I'm on solar. You can still be on the grid. All right, here's an old futon. In other words, you could make this your bedroom, blah, blah, blah. You'd have a little closet up here or downstairs, whatever works. My point being is I dropped $5,000 in 2009 on this, okay? Let's assume it's doubled that. I don't think it has, but let's just say it has doubled that, okay? So it's $10,000. James, that I would be so embarrassed. Okay, that's the ego. Get over embarrassment. If you want to get out of the matrix, there is no ego. Ego and the matrix, these are opposite of each other. So, okay. Now, if you did, work with me here. These doors would be replaced with real doors. That'd be cheap. You could replace the windows a little bit. You insulate it, do some nice paneling, drywall, whatever you want, colored, anything you want. This could be kind of hip and cool, what they call a tiny house. And even on the expensive end, let's just say I spent $5,000 on this. Let's double that, $10,000. And let's actually double what I think it would cost, which is about $3,000. So it's now at $16,000. Okay, $16,000. And you have this really nice inside and out. Okay. Now, let's assume you want it on the grid. That's no problem. You also want a little plot of land. Okay, let's be expensive here. Small plot of land, I would assume as long as you go outside of the city limits. Hopefully you could get like a super small plot of land for $10,000. Let's double it, $20,000. So you got 20 plus 16. Here I am, the math guru, right? Not really. $36,000. Okay, $36,000. That's your house. And you're saying, I'll never live in that. I'm Gen Z. I am mighty. Well, then you will never, ever be out of the matrix. And the one thing I'll say take solace in, at least 98%, probably 99, never leave the matrix. So it's okay. Just sign your life away. Work for some corporation until you die of a heart attack or stroke, or if you're lucky, make it to 70 and you can eke out a few good years. Okay. If you don't want to do that, because I showed you the house before, yes, it used to be 118. Now it's like 350 plus. I don't really have anything good to say about that. I don't think the houses are going to go back down to 100,000 bucks. I mean, maybe they will. Hold out for it. But in the meantime, the people I was talking to you about, let's just make it easy math. $2,000 a month rent. Because $1,700 a month rent, that was just the rent. I guarantee you with utilities and everything, it's at least $2,000. So easy math. 2 times 12 months in a year, in case you didn't know that, that's $24,000. A year and a half of rent, you have got this thing bought with land, and you've got it actually pimped out with insulation, with nice drywall, and you can act hip and cool and say, look, I've got this little house, I've got this, it is so awesome. And no offense, all the apartments, I've lived in a lot of apartments. This could be much nicer than any of the apartments I've lived in if you did it right. And even with the land to own, $36,000. Food for thought. And again, I'm talking to the 1, maybe 2% here. So when the Gen Zers say, well, it's easy for you to say, I'm not a millennial, I'm not a Gen Xer, even though I'm a young Gen Xer, like you don't get it. No, I do get it. And guess what? I was young once upon a time, and I went through the housing crash of '08. I was right there. And guess what? Worked it out. But I did have to at least work a little bit. Simplify your life, man. I don't care what age you are. You can do this if you're willing to. I'll leave it at that. This is, again, strictly Gen Z. Think about it.